So let me go ahead and switch this up. And soon enough, I'm gonna have a nice, cool intro. I'm gonna have the whole thing typed out, so it's going to just sound like a professional broadcast. But trust me, I just started this Twitch channel just because I wanted to and did it that same day. So a lot of this stuff I'm still working through. And on my days off, I will continue to improve the stream because everything I do is high quality. You know what I'm saying? Everything I do is high quality. So let's go ahead and switch here and let's get into the first video.
He's running for office.
Boom.
So shortly after defeating the county's first black sheriff, this is Columbus County, North Carolina, Sheriff-elect Jody Green, he apparently decided to celebrate. So he took his own phone call and decided to talk about how he's going to get those black officers, every one of them that works in his department. The audio of this phone call was just released to a local news station, and it's pretty damning. Let's look at some details of what it is that Jody Green had to say about it, some of his officers. He said, F them black bastards. They think I'm scared, they're stupid. I don't know what else to do with them, so it's just time to clean them out. Man, good job. What a leader this guy is. So these conversations happen with interim...
Okay. It's hard. It is hard to just be like, to just not think anything of that first statement right there. If I don't care the color, I don't care the color of the person, I don't care the sex of the person, I don't care the religion of the person. If anyone has heard them record or heard them say personally, F them black bastards. Now, in a video we did a couple of days ago, which Twitch didn't save my recording, and I'm gonna eventually have to do it again, but it was this this video where from a movie, and it's a coach and this white boxer is in the ring, and he told this black boxer who was out of the ring, he was like, get your black cunt in this ring, and he was like, hey coach, he's being racist. And the coach was like, no, he's not being racist, he's being disrespectful to you. He's not saying all black people are cunts. He's just calling you black, which you are, and you're being a cunt, which is arguable. Now, that is not racist. Is it disrespectful? It is. You know what I'm saying? Would you get whooped by saying those words? Very possible. But it's not being racist. Now, what this officer said, F them black bastards. Now, he's not just talking about one just particular bastard. He's talking to them black bastards. So that kind of rolls into a little bit more just being disrespectful to one or maybe two people. It seems like he's talking about a whole group of black bastards, which we'll get into, obviously. So let's listen.
Chief Jason Souls, this is back in February of 2019. Jason Souls came in here because I think it's a bit of an odd situation. I'm curious why Green had this thought process, but let's get to more of what happened. Because at the time, Green was still embroiled in the aftermath of a tight election that's against former Sheriff Louis Hatcher, who is black, which he won by a margin of only 34 votes. As the winner was still being determined, Jason Souls had been named the interim sheriff. Now, current day, Souls is planning to run against this same Sheriff Green, and he released this audio of that phone call to the local news outlet. So apparently Souls also brought the audio to the governor's office and the attorney general's office as well, but the recordings are now only being looked at by the State Bureau of Investigation for possible obstruction of justice. Again, this is 2019 when he said all this. So back to Green. In these recordings, he can be heard telling the interim sheriff that he hated black Democrats, didn't trust the black detention officer in the sheriff's office, and would fire people who were, quote, guilty by association of supposedly leaking information about him. So during these calls, Green also expressed his suspicions that one of the department's black officers was leaking this unspecified information that he's so worried about to then Sheriff Louis Hatcher, the black sheriff. He says, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of these black bastards. I'm going to clean house and be done with it. And we'll start from there. There's a snitch in there somewhere telling what we're doing, is what he said on another phone call. He said, and I'm not gonna have it. I'm not gonna have it. Apparently, he's not gonna have it. More on this because Green also disparaged Melvin Campbell, a black sergeant at the sheriff's office who had worked under Green for 30 years at the North Carolina Highway Patrol. He said more. He said, we'll cut the snake's head effing off, period. And Melvin Campbell is as big a snake as Lewis Hatcher ever dared to be. Every black that I know, you need to fire him to start with.
Every black that I know, that is crazy. I am curious to hear what people's defense of this kind of language. Now, I can already imagine some people are going to say, he's just saying things. Bro, if I say I'm going to whoop you and your mama, you probably take offense to that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just crazy how people can just say when shown things like this, because this is not the first time out of, a couple months, a couple years, one single cop has spoken like this. This is a common thing that is not publicized like everywhere, plastered on every news station and on everybody's Twitter page. Things like this kind of go under the rug, and a lot of people may not watch TYT, but things like this happen, it seems like, on a daily. But yeah, I mean, if we just listen to a lot of these people, racism isn't real, racism isn't relevant today in 2022. That's, back in the 70s, there's nothing to worry about. There's no such thing as racist people in America. And if they are, they're not cops. They're not harming anybody. They just have different beliefs and different opinions. Like,
he's a snake. So of course, he was looking to make sure he followed through on these promises and these declarations, especially about these black officers in his department. A little bit more. Much of what Green promised to do did come to pass. The 2 black officers on the County Sheriff's Command staff were demoted, and one of them was eventually fired. This investigation is continuing ongoing, and Green did respond. There was another point, and I talked about this morning on the watch list, when he said there was nothing racist about what I said. I didn't say anything racist. What's racist? I don't have any actions or thoughts that are racist except for everything that you heard on those phone calls. One more thing about what Green said. He maintained that his former election opponent had been spreading false rumors about him in the aftermath of the 2018 election, and that the conversations heard in the recordings were somehow altered to create a misleading representation of him, because he also accused Souls of being an officer with poor performance who was now trying to run a smear campaign against him weeks ahead of this election in November. Again, the guy that's running against him now is going to release the phone calls, because back in 2019, Green decided to call Souls and divulge all this to him, a fellow white officer, and he's like, he'll keep my secret, won't he? Apparently not.
So, and it seems like those are the white folks, because I don't believe every white person is racist. It's really hard. I will believe that God isn't real before I can believe that an entire group of people are racist. Now, is there a lot of people that just let things slide because they don't want no problems? Of course, and usually 9 times out of 10, that is the problem. But then we have young white folks like this who will speak up and get these people pointed out and hopefully taken care of, because obviously we don't want anyone like this in a position of power. By no stretch of the imagination does someone like that need to be in a position of power. Even if it's a black person who's a sheriff, and they say, man, I really effing hate these white people. All these people like, hey, bro, hey, we ain't rocking with you. You needs to remove yourself from the population. You need to find yourself an island and just die on that island by yourself. You know what I'm saying? That goes for anybody. So I applaud young white brothers and sisters who will stand up and put it out to the media of white folks or anyone racist like this abusing their power. Simple.
The context of what Souls did is actually really important to the story, because Souls did not tape this years ago and then just release it now when he's running for office. He actually then brought it to the authorities. He said in the beginning, of course he wasn't taping, it's just a random call between an interim sheriff and a guy who at the time was leading and was likely to be the next sheriff, right? But Green started saying these crazy things, and Souls like, this is really terrible. I think I got to record a part of this call just so people know this is real, because he's threatening to fire all these black officers. And if he does, well, I mean, that's terrible, right? And so
yes,
he then takes the tape and gives it to authorities. He gives it to local authorities, and they say, oh yeah, we're on it. So he waits and waits and waits. And then he goes back, we're on it, nothing. He takes it to the FBI.
And who is really surprised? Who is really surprised that they're gonna sit on this kind of information? Like I told you, either you're for it and you don't see a problem with how this officer is speaking, or you don't want to stir up no problem, so you just hope that people forget, kind of just go about their business, and you can sweep this under the rug. Those are the only two types of people when dealing with a situation like this. And obviously, there's a lot of people in these institutions who are struggling with one of those two things. And I think more so than the other. You know what I'm saying? So once again, I applaud this young man.
Nothing. He takes to everybody for about 3 years. Then finally says, nobody's doing a goddamn thing about it. He's like, well, damn it, I'm going to run against him, and I'm going to show everybody the tapes. Now, by the time he shows the tapes, they're like, oh, yeah, you're running against him. Okay, but guys, that's not just the frustrating part of the story. It's also super important, because think about all of the agencies that thought, oh, he's going to fire all the black officers. Oh, and he did fire all the black. He said he was going to do it. The racist thing where he fires everyone for being black, and then he did do it. He either fired or demoted all of them under his command.
That's crazy.
And they think that's no big deal. So the local authorities don't do anything. Local government doesn't do anything. FBI doesn't do anything. They think that that's normal.
I mean, technically, in their world, that is normal. So I mean, it's really hard to fault them if that's the era, because some of these might be some older folks. It's not, I don't want to say it's not their fault. It's what they're used to. If they're born in the the 50s, 60s, and they seen their dads act like this towards black and brown folks. They seen their uncles, their grandfathers, their brothers and sisters. What do you think is going to happen? They're going to do exactly what is the norm in their little circle, in their life, in their perspective on other folks. So it's weird to us. It's weird to me. Hopefully it's weird to you watching this, but this is normal behavior for these kind of people.
That's actually more dispiriting than this one racist sheriff. But do you think that sheriff's going to treat not only his own employees, that's already a given, right? He already did fire and demote them. You think he's going to treat the black people in that town fairly when he thinks every black he knows is a snake? You read the quote again. Every black he knows is a snake, and they're black bastards.
And then he says, bastard.
And I bet you it's mostly genuine. He goes, I don't know what's racial about that. Because they genuinely think that their 100% racism is so normal that they're saying, wait, but that's not bad, is it? Because racist sounds bad, but that's not bad. It's just being rational. I hate every black person and I fire them because that's what anybody would do, right? No, that's what racists would do. So that's look, guys.
Or another aspect that they'll say is like, well, they must have done something bad, right? He can't just be acting and saying these kind of things because of the color of their skin. That can't be. They must have said something. They must have, said something about his mama. They must have scored low on a test. I don't know what the case is, but they have done something to deserve this honorable officer, sheriff, to say what he said. Something must have justified it. That 9 times out of 10, that's what other people looking in are going to say. I guarantee it, hands down.
As I saw this story, I thought, Jesus Christ, because I'm one of you guys. If you have trouble believing how awful people can be like this, oh, I've been in your shoes. I remember when I was young, I was growing up, I was actually a Republican, and people would tell me about cops behaving badly, and I'd be like, no. Because it was so outside of my experience. I'm like, why would they do that? That's so randomly hateful and vicious.
That crazy.
It just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
Well, whether it makes sense or not, they definitely do it.
There you go.
They definitely do it. And apparently they do it so regularly that nobody even thinks it's out of the ordinary.
Exactly.
This story, if I can be totally transparent, I always tell people about how, when you think of racism, people don't think of systemic racism. People don't think of like institutions or maybe even processes in which they're not even conscious they're a part of.
Hey, can we say right now, you guys watching this right now, can we all agree that my setup is better than his? I mean, I kind of stopped listening because they kind of switched him over just really abruptly. I was not expecting to see his face just like that. But, I mean, he has a nice background. I guarantee I would get more votes. I just want to throw that out there real quick.
Of that concept, when they think of racism, they think of the old-timey racism, like the white sheriff in the town who calls the black person the N-word and stuff like that. Whereas this kind of seems like one of those cases. This is not one of those like, well, I don't know if this is exactly as institutional as it is just overt. That's how I would describe this. Overt racism, hardcore, overt, classic old-timey racism by the sheriff. So it's pretty wild to see as a story taking place in.
And he makes a good point while leading second on setups here, but a lot of people only only know a certain kind of racism, and that's probably what they seen on TV, like white folks with the hoods and the nightgowns and with the whole Nazi tattoos and stuff, and saying the N-word just like they say, beautiful day outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, which that is racist, but they were unashamed. They were unapologetic about being racist, about being hateful, ugly bigots. You know what I'm saying? But of course, you can't do that now. Obviously, you can't just run around just saying, hey, what's up, N-word? Like, nah, you're going to get whooped and then in trouble. You know what I'm saying? So they got to be sneaky with it. You know what I'm saying? They're going to talk in private with their colleagues and be like, hey, you know what? I hate these black bastards. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get all these black bastards fired one way or another. Like, that is that secretive racism that they don't see. But I guarantee when he steps out, with his uniform on and he's driving around his police car and he has to assist, some black folks, or he's walking by, I guarantee you he's not going to be acting like that, because it's all smoke and mirrors, because he knows he's going to get in trouble. He knows he's going to get called out about that stuff. So obviously, it's to hide it. I don't understand why people don't understand. People like that are not going to just decide to not be racist. They're just going to find other ways, other avenues to express their hatred against whoever, not just black folks, Mexicans, Asians, Indians, gays, lesbians, everybody who's not them. They're going to find a way. They're creative. These folks is creative. Read some books. They're going to find a way to be racist. And it's ignorant for anybody to be like, hey, racism doesn't exist in 2022. Shut your lips.
2022, the year of our Lord.
It's weird though that we got to this point though. I mean, you said it's old-timey regular racism. But I guess that's, as Cenk was pointing out, maybe the surprising part is then after it's presented to other folks, they don't even think, before you go, yeah, maybe we're looking to cover this up, but it's literally just we're not going to do anything, because a response time many times from authority figures or anybody like that, it's once the pressure comes on them, once people then say, hey, why aren't you doing something about this, which apparently now is the case, and he was, I think, excommunicated from some sheriff's association in the area. That's the extent of it. Not even that, they were about to vote on it. And he said, you know what, I'm just gonna resign anyway, just to avoid maybe that embarrassment or something like that. So even that level of penalty wasn't gonna happen until there was pressure applied by people who went, what are you guys doing down there? But again, you may hear folks who like to think the way, as Cenk was talking about, many Republicans still do, that no way. But as we see more and more tapes, listen to more and more audio, then someone says, how do you think this guy would train his officers when they encounter maybe one of those folks that he thinks are just bad people based off of who they are? You have to find yourself answering that question before you go on to continue your belief systems. That's all. Just think about it. When someone asks it to you, they're not looking to pigeonhole you, put in some corner, tell you, now you have to say you're racist. But just understand, maybe detach yourselves from people that are like this and acknowledge the truth. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. In fact, your world will get better.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got to say two more things. So, unfortunately, there's a pattern throughout a lot of our stories, which is law enforcement's complete indifference to justice and injustice. So when cops do things that are wrong, what do? Of course, they all rally around the cop who did the thing that was wrong, right? They thin blue line, they call it, right? So in Ohio, Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old, gets shot within 2 seconds. Obviously, the cop should have said, put your hands up. They should have inquired. He didn't need to shoot the kid, right? And the kid was actually no threat at all. But every cop says no. That injustice is perfectly justified. Really? Perfectly justified? You like, that doesn't cause you concern at all? Rape test kits. Tens of thousands of them, maybe hundreds of thousands of them, lying around the country. They don't even bother using them. They never actually do the test. Well, don't you care? A woman was raped. Don't you care? Like, we gotta solve the case. It's right there. The evidence is right there. They don't even test them. They don't use them because they don't care about justice. And that's just amazing to me. It's the people that are supposed to care the most about justice care the least. And so,
but like I said, and these are one of the recordings that I didn't have my settings correct on Twitch. So that video that I did a couple days ago is long gone, which but like I said once before, police have no constitutional obligation to give a damn about you. You know what I'm saying? That the fancy slogan they have on the side of their cars and probably, you know, pent up inside the office to protect and serve, not your black ass. You know what I'm saying? They have no obligation to do that. And if you look at the history of policing in America, how it started, how it originated, how it kind of transformed throughout the centuries, nowhere in between was they like, we have to protect and serve our citizens. It's just not there. That's why some people just want to reform the whole entire thing, because it wasn't established correct from the beginning. There was no moral foundation in policing in the beginning. So why do you expect a different outcome on something that wasn't created to do that? Obviously. And if I could think of that, I'm definitely not the smartest. I'm definitely not the sharpest knife in the kitchen. But if I can understand that, and if I can draw that conclusion just from watching everything happening in the world, if I could come up with that, I'm pretty sure a lot of other people can. But, you know, they just, until it happens to them, then, you know, they be up in arms and screaming and, you know, fighting and shouting and stuff.
in this situation, this guy should be fired in an instant. You can't have him be sheriff of black people when he thinks every black person is a snake. I mean, that's insane. But yet we have to try to convince people. We have to cajole people. We have to plead with people. Can you please not have this vicious racist as a person with a gun and the badge who could take our lives and our freedom based on his preconceived notions of who we are? And they say no, we'll have to think about it. We'll have to do, and then be a giant long process, maybe yes. And by the way, only because you caught us are we gonna think about it. If you hadn't caught us, Souls gave us the evidence, him on tape. It is crystal clear. Don't care. That's our law enforcement in this country, and that's super scary.
Can I just say one quick thing? Is that Liam Neeson actually said a very similar line and apologized for it. That's an actor. That's an actor being like, okay, I shouldn't have used that term in that line, and I apologize. This is sheriff. So I would assume if Liam Neeson can do that, then a sheriff could probably do the same thing.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. I really appreciate it.
All right, so I think we can come to the conclusion. Let me go ahead and blow this up. Boom, now you see me. I think we could come to the conclusion that there's a lot of bad actors in every organization, not just cops, not just policing, in every fracture of life. In your office, I guarantee there's somebody who's racist, who don't like white folks, who don't like black folks, who don't like Mexicans. And it's only going to get worse if people do not handle it. If you're hearing somebody talk like that, correct them. Or you're part of the problem because you're allowing that person to, especially in a position of power. You know what I'm saying? If a cashier is saying, you know, I don't, you know, F them black folks. You know what I'm saying? If I go into that checkout line, they're going to do their job. That simple. They may not like me, but guess what? I don't care. Please check this stuff out. Tell me my amount. I will give you the cash and then I'm out. I don't want nothing more, nothing less. But if it's a person in a position of power that can actually move into people's lives and decide how that person now lives just based off of, you know, preconceived hatred on a group of people, and you letting that slide, you're the problem. Hey, what's going on, YouTube? First off, thank you for watching this video, and if you want to see more live, you can catch me on Twitch every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday around 7 o'clock Mountain Time. Now, wherever time that is for you, you're gonna have to figure that out. But if you want to watch me live, go ahead and find me there, or you can stay here on YouTube and continue to watch the amazing content that I am posting on there every single day. So go ahead, watch this next video, and I will see you there.